All right, welcome. And
Sanjay.
I'm hearing an echo.
yeah, I know, we are too.
Is this mine? Is that causing it? Hello? Which is the, oh, mute, yeah.
Oh, 3 p.m. So this is so I'd like to call the meeting to order. Please note that 3 of the school board members are present. Dr. Phil Falaise, Mrs. Esme Ortiz, and me, Sanjay. And joining us remotely is Theda Corns and Catherine Vonnegut. So will you all join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, all right. So first, is there any public comment on items that are on the special agenda? I don't see anyone present. Is anybody joining online? There's nobody online. Are we allowing anybody else to join publicly online?
We didn't post.
Okay, so they have to be present, right? Okay, that's fine. Okay. Okay. All right, can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Okay, moved by Phil, seconded by Esme. So all those in favor, please vote aye or say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Okay, I think I see Catherine and Theda's hands raised. Everybody's raised. Yep, so 5-0. Thank you. All right, so moving on to the main business item. So this is an item, basically, we're having a special meeting for this to superintendent search planning with the Board of Trustees and consultant of HYA. Which the board approved last week. So, and I think it's going to be led off by Julie. So welcome, Julie.
Thank you very much. Today we're going to be going through our planning meeting, and we have an agenda for that. But first, I'd like to introduce Diane Siri. She's online with us today. She will be at the future meetings. We'll be together here, but today she's not present. So Diane, do you want to say hello to everyone?
Well, good afternoon, and Esme, I hope to meet you in person soon. And I had the pleasure of talking with Theda last Friday, I believe it was. My name's Diane Siri. I have done probably 25 plus searches, about 10 of those with Julie, and about the same number with Carolyn, and several with Valerie, our other person from HYA that will be helping us with the recruitment part. I was a high school principal for 6 years, superintendent for 16, have a doctorate in educational policy from Columbia University, and have done a variety of things, including starting a charter in Santa Cruz with Reed Hastings, who's now with Netflix, and also starting a girls engineering program with University of California, Santa Cruz. and their benefactor for their School of Engineering, Jack Baskin. So bring to the table a lot of high school experience and look forward to working with all of you on this expedited search. And Julie, I'm looking, Carolyn was going to try to log in. I think Amy sent her a link, so I'll keep my eye on the screen and introduce her if she's able to connect.
Point of order, could we have Julie, or position the camera so that we could see Julie if we're online? Thank you. I can see the side of her face now. If you
Should I-
sat in the board, in one of the board chairs, then I could actually see you.
Not the back of my head. Oh, okay.
So, okay, so I guess I didn't catch this. For Carolyn,
So it sounds like for Carolyn, we didn't get the link to her? No, okay, I'm sorry.
You sent me an email about Diane, so I had her, do you want me to, I can try to add her now and send her.
You,
yeah, why don't we, if she can
Sure.
join. Does she
Yeah.
know that there's a meeting?
yes, she does.
Yeah.
I
Okay,
spoke
so-
to her this morning and she, it's, let's see, I've got it right here.
While you're getting organized, my apologies for not being there. I was telling Theda and Catherine that I'm hosting 24 6-year-olds tomorrow at a tea party for my granddaughter's birthday. And I'm in charge of cookie decorating, which might be harder than some of my consulting work with 24 young ladies. And the weather didn't cooperate. They closed Highway 80 and there's chain controls. So all of the dates that are on our proposed calendars, at least 2 of us will be there and possibly 3.
Should we start?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, if you can just
She'll
let,
send
if
that
you can
correct.
just text Carolyn that we're sending it to her.
Yes.
Is Julie presenting? So we're gonna see her, presentation or is she talking?
You know, we're going to be using the documents that you received in the board agenda. I wasn't going to post them up. I figured you
Okay.
had copies in front of you.
Yeah, so it would be helpful to me if I could actually see your face, like not in profile, so I could tell when you're talking more. Because I don't want to interrupt you when you're talking, but I really can't tell when you're talking
move?
to see the side of you.
Share a screen.
So isn't Thea saying she wants to see the document?
No,
She wants to see
she has the documents, I think, so she can see the documents.
Do you want me to turn?
I'm just saying I'd like to see her face so I
She
can
wants to
have a
see-
better idea of when she's talking.
Yeah.
She wants to see Julie.
Maybe to move,
Yeah.
maybe to move to that,
Oh,
that
the
would
camera's
be
there.
better.
Okay.
Yeah,
Sure.
sorry about that. I don't want to interrupt her.
Well, but you want to face this way. Right, so face towards, still a little bit towards me though. Yeah, that's better.
Is that okay?
Yeah, now I can see your mouth now, so now I know when you're talking.
Hey. Set.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
All right. So today in our meeting, we're going to be going, is everyone okay? Everyone can see? Okay. So today we're going to be going through about 16 different items. Diane is going to go through a couple of the items, the others I'll go through. It's unusual to have a planning meeting when we've already started. We only were here last week, but we've actually, as you will see, have accomplished a lot of these things, and we're really trying to move through some of these items. So our first one is introduction. Second item is contacts during the search. Normally, it's the board president who serves as the contact, but sometimes the board president isn't available and may want to assign someone else. So we want to make sure we're clear on who our liaison to the board is going to be. Is that you, Sanjay?
Yeah, I think it'll be me. I think that's, right now, yeah. I think I'm done traveling, I think, for most of the time, so it
Okay.
should be okay.
All right.
If not, but yeah, otherwise, I think Esme will be CC on this.
Okay.
Or we're not, yeah.
CC Esme, okay. All right, thank you very much. And then we have our contacts there for both the board and the search team. Moving on to item number 3, we've already completed that. That was the letter of agreement. And we have filed that from the district. We've already filed that with HYA. So that one's completed.
Julie, may I ask something?
Certainly, Diane.
Julie, for the board members, with your permission, we didn't want to print them here. With your permission, Amy will give us your cell phone numbers. So we want to make sure that's okay. Also, we will be sending you emails as a group to all 5 of you. You can reply all. I mean, you can reply to Julie and Diane. Please do not send responses, reply all, because of the Brown Act provisions.
Good reminder. Thank you, Diane.
Thanks.
So we are on to item number 4, which are the 2 calendars we sent you. We have the first calendar is really what we hope to stick to. The reason we have a second calendar is in case we don't have enough candidates or something happens and it slows the search down a little bit and we need to take more time. We have given you some additional dates, but Diane, I'm going to have you go through the calendar and I'll be recording as you do it.
So the document that I'm hoping you can see is labeled HYA Superintendent Search Calendar number 1. It starts April 5th and ends April 20th. We are proposing these dates just because at least 2 or 3 of us were available, but know that any of these can be changed. We are recommending that.
May 20th, right?
May 20th.
May 20th, not April.
Sorry. Sorry, thank you, Sanjay. May 20th would be at your regular board meeting, 7 p.m. would be on calendar 1, the day you would make the announcement and the appointment. So going through this one briefly, we have already advertised in multiple locations. You probably can't see all of the detail, but Julie and I all of us probably have been getting calls. This is a list right now, since I have my background, with 35 names on it with phone numbers that we have been making calls to in the last few days. So we are actively recruiting at this point, and people are waiting for the calendar and the characteristics, which we will do on April 15th. Sanjay approved us making a brief report at your next regular meeting. So we are recommending for the May 20th deadline that we close applications April 22nd, but note that we are recommending that on our site and on your site, it shows applications will be accepted until the position is filled. With this date, we screen personally, in person or on Zoom, all of the candidates so that we've talked to them, reviewed any issues, given them information, answered questions. But we are recommending the first date that I'd like you to look at your calendars. We're recommending April 25th or 26th would be the full board meeting with us to review the slate. And for the 2 new board members, unless we are directed otherwise, because we have met and reviewed initial reference checks, letters of recommendation, and we've talked to all of them, we present the candidates to you in a slate format with what we are saying is tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 based on the match to your characteristics and the interviews that we've done with you as board members and with the constituents that we will tell you about later. What we are looking at that meeting as it would be a go or no go. If you feel the slate is adequate and represents candidates that are both qualified and a match potentially for your district, then we would proceed to the next dates. If you did not feel there was an adequate slate of candidates, we would then talk about calendar 2, which delays the process with an appointment ideally at your June 3rd regular meeting. There is a provision in the Ed Code that the appointment has to be made at a regular meeting. Somewhere in the past, someone tried to sneak through a special meeting. So my first question, and Julia's recording, would board members be available in person or on Zoom to review the first slate of candidates April 25th or April 26th, anytime? This process usually takes anywhere from hour and a half. We like you to block out 2 hours just in case there's a lengthy discussion. We hope to make your job very hard, that there are so many good candidates. It's hard to figure out who you want to interview and meet in person.
I am not available April 25th, 26th.
Okay, let's look at,
Could we back it up to the 24th? Diane, does that give?
yes, Julie. Sanjay 24th, or I was looking on the other side and I should have had my calendar up to look at the days of the week. 24 or 27?
I think Phil is not available on the 24th,
Right.
Okay.
27th, I think
27th.
so 25th to the 28th, I'm not available.
Okay.
So it would be the 29th.
Well, we could do it the 29th. We're recommending that the first interviews be May 2nd and 3rd, and that's always a difficult one because depending upon how many candidates you choose to interview, we recommend an hour and a half for each candidate. That could be 10 to 12 hours spread over 2 days. So Julie, we could be ready by the 23rd with the application deadline if we did all of our screenings and just had to look at those, because I think we put noon on the 22nd.
Right.
So 23rd, or Sanjay, you said when's the first day after that you would be available?
29th.
29th.
23rd or 29th? What's the board's preference on those 2 days?
23rd.
I would prefer the 23rd because I think we need to have as much time as we can.
Okay?
Yeah. And I prefer the 23rd also because it's earlier, 1, and 2, though, we have to keep in mind, we can't have it at night because that's family partnership, and both, I always go to that and Theta does usually too, sometimes Esme.
Yeah,
And that's
I
a meeting
see
that can't be changed, so it'd have to be earlier in the day.
So is 1 o'clock your alternate preferred time? So 1 to 3 on the 23rd, I'm hearing as one proposal.
For myself, except for family partnership, which is from 6:30 to 8, I'm available at any time. on that date.
Same with me, but 6:30 to 8 is right in the middle of the evening part.
Right.
4 to 6 would work.
Okay, hearing a second option of 4 to 6.
I'm good anytime after 1 o'clock on the 23rd. Or the 29th. but I
Yeah,
think
so if we can, so 1 o'clock would work then? Would that work?
Works for
one-
me. 1 to 3, you're saying, Sanjay?
Yeah.
Yeah, 1 to 3. Would that work on the 23rd, Phil?
That works for me.
Does it not work for anybody? Okay. Well,
Okay.
put that-
So we have April 23rd, 1 to 3.
Okay, just one caution on that. That is the meeting where we send you the materials on the candidates.
Mhm.
Our recent practice has been to send the board the cover letter, the resume, and 3 letters of reference.
Mhm.
Is that acceptable to the board?
I think that's what we did last time.
Mhm.
Okay, then the caution that I was just saying is we probably, instead of you getting them all together, you probably will get a group around April 19th or 20th for you to review, and then you may get some last minute ones. So rather than giving you all of them on the 22nd, and you'd only have the 1 day to review, with your concurrence, we would send you the first group earlier, and then the final applications that come in at noon on April 22nd. Is that acceptable?
So Diane, I know you already went through this, but could you I just want to make sure I understand how many resumes we're gonna get when? Because I'm a little confused about that.
It
So-
may vary. This board had asked to see all of them last time. Some boards only asked to see our tier 1 and 2. Right now, Julie, do we have, how many applicants do we have right now?
5.
We have 5. We probably will have a little smaller pool because of the short time. But I would guess maybe, Julie, what's your best guess? 15 to 18?
That would be right. Let me give you an example. So right now of the 5, there's one person who's out of state and is not an assistant superintendent. They're a director. So that may be one that we want to hold back on and not, maybe just send the resume and say, we're not going to go any further unless somebody wants to see it. Because you could, I mean, if we have 30 applicants, that's a lot of documents you'd be going through. So we could do that, take out the ones that really aren't viable candidates, and we'll talk about them when we get together, but not send you all the documents on them.
I,
Did anyone
So-
object to that?
yeah, I think given the time frame, it makes sense for you to do your tier 1 and tier 2. That's why we hired you after all, is to find the best candidates. Unless anyone else in the board objects to that, but.
Yeah, I object to it. So I think, I'd like to see it like we did last time. I'd like
Okay,
to see.
everybody.
I'd like to see everybody. I'd like to
sure.
see who's applying.
Mhm.
We definitely would like your opinion,
Mhm.
on them if you think they're not. I mean, that's
Mhm.
why we have you, but I think it would be good to see the candidates because we
Okay.
had a surprise last time
Mhm.
overall from what we were looking for. So I think it's
Okay,
to look.
Could you talk a little bit more about that, Sanjay?
Either way, I do think that if we get all of it, we also, I hope you could give us a summary about the different tiers.
we will.
Right?
We will give you the
So
summary.
that summary,
Yeah.
if we look at tier 3 people very quickly, like we go, oh, yeah, this one will.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So basically, we'll be redoing your.
That's okay. That's a good way to do it.
That was my clarification.
Yeah,
We
I
get
just wanted,
everything As long as we're clear on your classification of.
Yes.
so
Okay.
let me summarize. So we're going to have them all, but we will also have the chart of the tiers that HYA has already decided on for us to add it into our thing.
I would like to suggest that we give the tiers when we're meeting together, give our tiers. Because if we give you the first group and then the second group, I think it's maybe best for you to look at them without any influence from us. See how you place them, and then we'll place them also and talk about that as a group. That would be my
So-
opinion, but we can do it if you want, if you want it ahead. Diane, do you want to chime in on this? You're on mute, Diane.
And there's also some chatter in the background somewhere. I don't know who is talking in the background somewhere.
I have a guest appearance here. Carolyn did not get the link from Amy. she'd like to say hello. Let's see if you can hear her through my phone. Go for it, Carolyn.
Hello, how is everyone?
We're well, Carolyn. So you did not receive an email from Amy?
I did not, but that doesn't mean anything other than just lots of things going on.
So I think we resent it. Carolyn, do you want to try to join us or just connect at a future time?
Well, to keep you all waiting, I feel a little uncomfortable about keeping everyone waiting, and I'm not connected. So I guess I should wait until the next time and be more prepared.
Okay,
We did.
it wouldn't interrupt us if you want to find that link that Amy just resent and
Okay.
just join us. We'll just see your picture pop up, so it won't be an interruption. Join us anytime.
All right, let me see if I can find you.
Okay, I can send you mine too. Let me know. Thanks.
Okay.
Okay, so her picture may pop up. Julie, catch me up. Are we ready to talk about, we've confirmed 1 o'clock, 1 through 3 PM. Are we ready to talk about
We'll
May 2nd and 3rd?
Let's just hang on a moment. So we will have, we'll send one group of resumes with the cover letter and all the letters of recommendation, maybe on April 19th. And then a few days after that, once it closes, we'll catch up the last people that maybe applied over the weekend. We'll send that to the board. We were talking about whether they would receive our tiers in advance. Sanjay, did you, and I had suggested we bring our tiers to the meeting, but just so that everybody can look at it objectively and not have the influence of anyone else. But whatever you prefer, I mean, we do it, so.
I'm fine either way. I don't have a preference. If you, I mean, if it's easier just to provide it when we meet, that's fine with me. I think I'm okay with that. And we can
Julie,
discuss
just a
it.
note on that, because of this close date, we do initial reference checks. And we're doing some of those right up to the board meeting. And so sometimes the tiers change a little bit, but we can confirm that when we meet with you on the 15th and give you an outline of what we
Okay.
propose.
Well, I would really like to have the tiers because you guys have done this for a long time and you know what we're all looking for. And then a certain board member wants somebody that's not on those tiers in particular, then I feel they would need to, they would need to convince the rest that this person was more valuable after all. You know what I'm saying? So that's, I'd kind of like to see it and have your expert opinion right up front.
Okay, we can do that and provide, maybe if there are changes, provide an updated one then when we meet on April
that's good.
23rd.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. Great. Okay.
And I think Sita has her hand up.
Rita, do you have a question?
You're muted, Leo.
Unmute me.
She did have her
Yeah,
hand
so
up.
my question was, sorry, so my question was about seeing all the resumes. I just wanted to understand that. Because you've obviously been through it before, Sanjay.
Okay, so yeah, so we will see all the applicants that we get. We'll see them, we'll see the resume, their cover letter, and what else was it?
3 letters of
And 3 letters
recommendation.
of recommendation. So we will see that
Um,
from each of the applicants, and roughly it may be around 15 applicants that we'll be reviewing.
Okay, so you're
Could be up to
basically,
30, but
Could be up
yeah.
to 30, but
okay,
you know,
but you're basically saying that it's not like 100, so it's something that.
no,
we
it's not
could
100. It's,
Well,
So we
yeah, it
could
won't be
sort through.
probably.
Okay, that's what
Yeah.
that's what I was trying to understand.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay,
my
thank
feeling
you.
is that, you know, we know this district the best. I mean, yes, you know, I mean,
Definitely.
HYA, Julie and Diane and Carolyn, yes, they're professionals at their job and they've seen through a lot. But in terms of what our district needs and our requirements, I think we understand that the best. So I think it's best for us to kind of look at it and see, because there might be someone. More than likely, it probably won't be. It'll probably be one of their recommendations. But I think it's good for us to at least view who is.
Okay, yeah, I agree with you. I just wanted to understand more about the process, so thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
So I think it would be helpful, perhaps Julie, you could summarize what the decision is here.
So you will receive all documents for all candidates. You'll receive them in two groups. Well, the first group will come to you around the 19th, so you have a weekend to review those. Probably the largest number of applicants at that time. And then the ones that apply, on Sunday or Monday, we'll be sending those to you on the afternoon of the 22nd. We'll also include our recommendations, which just know if we are doing background checks on the 22nd, later in the day or in the morning on the 23rd, we may have some changes to make, but we will send you our tiers.
And as for last minute applicants, as soon as you get them, you will make a judgment, send them on to us.
Sure,
Right.
yes.
And the date on, so you said the 22nd and 23rd?
Well, the deadline for the ad is the 22nd. The 23rd is our meeting from 1 to 3.
Right.
So that's what we're shooting for, to be ready for that day.
And then, do we have a copy of the ad?
Well,
I don't
I
remember
can
seeing
send
a
it
copy
to
of
you
the ad.
folks. The ad is actually posted on the district website. Amy got that up yesterday.
Okay, all right, yeah, I hadn't seen it yet, sorry. I
Okay.
was on a plane a lot of yesterday.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, so we'll look at the ad. Yeah, I guess there's nothing else to say right this minute, from my point of view.
Okay. So Diane, I'll let you pick up again.
That's muted.
Muted.
All right, I was trying to give Carolyn a call to see if she was able to access that. So we're proposing, and again, it's up for discussion, May 2nd or 3rd, full board meeting to interview those semifinalists. Most boards pick 5 to 7 candidates to interview. We recommend an hour and a half. We recommend, and notice I'm using recommend, you have 3 experienced members on your board that may have suggestions for enhancements and improvements. We recommend an hour and a half, fairly structured interview for the first interview. We give you a set of questions as a working draft that cover things that we have heard in our interviews with the 5 board members, as well as the other community members and staff that we've talked to, also incorporating the items from the desired characteristics. Then we invite board members to add questions, delete questions, change questions. Usually, if you agree that the hour and a half is a time that allows you to meet this first group of candidates, we usually can fit in 18 to 20 questions, and we encourage you for the first one to ask all of the candidates the same questions. It gives you kind of the gestalt of your pool at that point. So we are suggesting, actually, ideally, if you can block 12 hours, we probably won't need that. Over the 2 days, we'll start with May 2nd and 3rd, 6 hours each day. And then we'll shorten the time based on the number of candidates.
So regarding the number of candidates, I think the number actually will be determined by the resumes we see and your recommendation. So it could be as few as 4, maybe even fewer, or it could be as many as a dozen or 10. It's just depending on how rich the applicant pool is.
And that's what happens on the 23rd?
Yeah.
No,
no.
that's
no.
what's going to be the next dates.
Yeah.
So May 2nd or 3rd are 2 dates that are out right now.
Full-
So it's
Oh,
the
that's not.
interviews
actually
and
interviews.
semifinalists.
Oh, I thought that was.
But Esme, the number of candidates that you would like to meet in person is determined on the 23rd.
Mhm.
Yeah, that.
That's what you meant, yeah.
that's it.
The thing about getting up to 9 or 10 would be that,
So, I think, let me just,
go
I
ahead,
think, no,
thank
but
you.
I think Esme's question is valid. So just in terms of what is gonna happen on the April 23rd meeting is basically we will filter and basically provide these, out of whatever we think, these are the applicants we think are worthy of moving forward. And then HYA, Julie and Diane will basically then, that's when you will interview the candidates after that. Basically, right, is that the case?
No. So prior to the 23rd, any candidate that applies, Diane and I do a screening interview with them. So we'll have that done, and that's what helps us put the tiers together, because we've spent, besides looking at all their documents, which you'll have, we've already spent a half an hour with them on the phone for a screening interview. From there, on the 23rd, you will select the ones that you want to interview on May 2nd or 3rd, or whatever those dates are going to be. So you'll be interviewing, like Phil said, it could be as few as 4, it could be more than that. But I think when you get up to the number of 9 or 10, then you're shortening, how much time do you have to spend with each candidate?
Because it says April 25th, 26th, full board consultant meet with full board to identify slate of semifinalists. But we're saying that is actually will be done on the 23rd. Okay, so
Correct.
that's right, because that's the
Correct.
25th. Got it, because that's the
Yes.
23rd date. Okay, I got it.
Yeah.
Okay, that's right, because that's now April 23rd. Got it.
If-
Okay.
If you feel that the semifinalists we choose, that there are some in there that really might not belong, you can make that argument to us at the time. And that would reduce the number, but if we
Definitely.
only have 4, it probably isn't worth making the argument. But if we have 9, it's probably worth making the argument.
Yes, you're correct, Phil.
Okay. And then on May 2nd and 3rd, we'll have the full interviews. Got it, okay.
Do you want to confirm that those dates work? The 2nd and the 3rd?
Diane, so now we're on the dates for the,
Right, we proposed. So
May
Carolyn's,
2nd and 3rd, right? So
Carolyn,
is that,
she's having problems getting on, so I will try to call her in our next, where I'm not talking. The 2nd and 3rd, let's
Right.
say, if you could hold 6 hours each day,
Yeah.
so 9 to 3, or noon to 6, or 4 to 10, whatever your preference.
Okay.
We're just throwing those 2 dates out
Right,
first.
so let me ask the board, do those dates not work for anybody, May 2nd and 3rd?
I think they work for me.
Yeah,
Catherine and Theta?
I'm gonna have to change a few things, but this is more important.
Okay. Thanks, Catherine. Theta, are you okay? I don't know if she's able to hear us now.
I think she can still hear us. I think she's having to change locations because of noise.
Okay. I will just confirm with Theta.
Okay.
We'll continue after that.
and what would be the ideal time, do you think, for you?
Actually, I'm okay with that. Actually, I would prefer morning, starting in the morning,
What time in the morning?
like 9 a.m. would work for
Can we
me.
make that 9:30?
9:30 is fine, yep, 9:30 is fine, yeah.
9:30 to 3:30, you mean?
I know, it's a shame Thea isn't communicating because she usually likes to start at 10,
Okay.
Yeah, so it's like-
but.
Let's
Maybe
see.
maybe she's about to-
I don't know, I don't know if she's able to hear us.
Theta, you're on mute right now, if you can speak. Guess not.
So but right now, let's just say, we'll touch base with Theta, just to, but to 9:30
9:30.
to maybe, like Catherine saying, 3:30.
Okay,
Same time for the next day, 9:30 to 3:30, we can say on
Okay.
Friday. And then
Okay. Mhm.
why don't we put that in there?
Okay,
We'll
I'll put-
confirm with Theta.
Okay, and on the 15th, we can make adjustments if we need to do that.
Okay, on the 15th.
So we have,
Board meeting.
that's our regular board meeting,
Right,
your
okay.
regular board meeting.
Yeah. Mhm.
So we have May 2nd and 3rd, 9:30 to 3:30 on both days. Okay,
Yes.
Yeah.
very good. Okay, Diane?
Then what we're proposing, again,
Oh, you're muted, Diane.
sorry about that again. And I see,
Uh,
oh, Theta is in the car. Let me wait.
Yeah,
What-
sorry, I was having wind issues, so I couldn't really talk. But yes, those dates work for me and I apologize for the moving around.
So,
Not
so Theta, we saw May 2nd and 3rd work. Does 9:30 to 3:30 work for both those days?
Yes, I
works.
will
Okay.
clear my, like Catherine, I will clear my calendar.
Alrighty, great.
So then moving on to May 7th, 8th, or 9th. As the board members that went through the process last time, depending upon whether you pick usually 2 or 3 candidates to move to the final level. You can do it in one day, you can do it in multiple days. So we proposed 7, 8, or 9. We suggest 2 hours. That one is not scripted, although we provide you with a series of topics more that came up in the interviews when we debrief. Maybe topics you didn't get to explore when you were trying to cover 18 to 20 questions in an hour and a half. Amy, can you send Carolyn the email again? She said she doesn't see the link.
Yeah.
So,
I'm
Third time is
thinking
gonna make a
because we're
difference.
running the meeting, we added her in the invite, but I'm thinking because it might not allow it, is she still there? But I will send it again.
okay, thank you.
Put
it back in the thing. I'm having trouble
Okay.
switching.
So then it would be 8 and 9.
Right, so you could.
Yeah, so the,
One day, 2 days, 3 days. For a while, boards were doing a meal with each candidate. Even one, San Carlos, I think, we did in board member's home. The intent is for it to be more casual and for it to be a conversation. In Saratoga, we actually did it at
did you
the
just mute it first?
Los
before you
Gatos
start talking?
Lodge. So it can be in a restaurant, at a district, at your district site, or any place that you would like. We've done banks, city halls, realtors' offices, but somewhere that's conducive to a conversation and has both the confidentiality, because you definitely will be interviewing sitting superintendents that are hoping that it stays confidential, at least as long as possible. And so that's why we offered 3 dates. What, maybe a discussion, Julie, on preferences of 1 a day, all on 1 day, and how informal, and does the 2 hours seem about the right amount of time?
So, I mean, what we did last time is we met here on the district office and we
Mhm.
met for lunch in the conference room. So, and I think that worked out well. I think it's a private setting. You know, we just have lunch brought in. And that seems to work pretty well, because sometimes the restaurants, it could be noisy. I know there could be other places, but we already have a place here
Yeah.
that makes it convenient.
The only thing about the 8th and 9th, it's a Thursday and Friday, so you'll have all the staff here.
8th and 9th of May is Wednesday and Thursday, yeah.
Yeah. 8th is, oh, excuse me,
Wednesday,
8th,
right?
Wednesday and Thursday, you're right.
Um,
Is there
okay,
room?
but so would be the 7th also. I mean, all these dates are.
Um, Phil couldn't do the
Yeah,
7th.
no, he can do,
Okay.
no, but your objection about staff, though?
Oh, just because if it's confidential search and, you know,
But-
they'll be seeing the candidates coming in.
Oh, so basically don't do it here, you're saying? do it
Yeah, it may be
some-
hard.
Some other place?
But we can work on that. I can
Okay.
work
Yeah,
with
we can
Amy
work- if
and
there's
talk
another-
about it.
We have to figure
Could we
it out.
work, could we do the weekend? I mean, they're all very, very busy days. There's Hoffman Awards that day in the evening. There's foundation, big hoopla that day. There's, Thursday's pretty open, but then, Thursday and Friday, I think, in my mind, would work the best, 9 and 10.
Okay, we have a proposal for 9 and 10. And Sanjay, do you have an external entrance
Which
to
one?
that room?
1 minute, Amy's speaking right now.
Lunchtime? Yeah, I think we were also, we usually go to that, yeah.
When is that, Amy?
That's, it's in lunchtime.
Oh,
so
okay.
That's why it's in the
Okay.
middle of that, so.
Mhm.
I mean, Catherine did suggest weekends. I don't know if that's,
Well, no, or
Okay.
Thursday and Friday, May 9th and 10th. Is there something
No,
wrong with
but,
that?
so yes, so Catherine, Amy, was just reminding us that on the 9th is the challenge team, luncheon.
Lunch. Oh, yeah, that's right. But we could do it later after the lunch and have some of the interviews and or do them all on Friday. I think the 10th
Right.
sounds good.
So before we
I
get
can't
too
that
much
day.
farther, I gave you the wrong date. The 8th is the date I can't make.
Oh, okay. Well, then
Okay.
that takes one day. Okay, that's fine. We're,
The
the
7th,
7th works, which is a Tuesday.
Well, the 7th doesn't work for me in the evening.
7th,
It
yeah, so
would-
we're talking maybe at lunchtime.
For the other superintendent, for the interviews?
Yeah, this is for that, yeah, this is for the second interviews.
At lunchtime, but then we need like 2 hours per interview and we can't fit them all in at lunch on one day.
Right, I think this is over a couple, that's what we're looking over a couple days here.
Right, so you
So-
could take,
We've done kind of a brunch and then the board has a break and we've done a lunch. So we've done 2 in one day. The idea of some snacks or a light meal is it kind of lends itself to more informality. And you're going to deal with some tough issues with this person. And some people do very well in the structured interview, but now you're trying to get a chance to see this person and how sometimes the interviews are very different where it's more informal, but it's your preference. It can be, doesn't have to be that format.
So, yeah, I mean,
So-
actually, I like your idea of doing a brunch and a lunch.
Mhm.
Actually, I'm okay with that.
Mhm.
The 7th would work for that. The week, I guess it depends on how many candidates we're gonna be interviewing, right? So
mhm.
max, it'll be usually 3 though.
Max would be 3.
Max would be
Okay,
so we would
and then
have
we
to-
could maybe do 2 then and is everybody available on
The 10th then would be the other date, right?
the
Because
10th?
you can't on the 10th. 10th is, okay, so basically it's 7th is the only day, because 8th is.
9:30.
Yeah, because 9 doesn't work because we have the luncheon, and we could do the 9th morning,
Yeah, we could.
brunch, do a brunch
We
on
could
the,
do a brunch
yeah. we
on the
could do
9th and then go to that other thing. So we could do
that.
2
That
on
means
the,
we have to be there at 11 though? That's just.
Yeah,
Teams at 11,
That's what they're saying, it starts at 11.
I
Yeah.
prefer,
it's a really short brunch. so
Yeah,
we have to be-
Be fed.
Yeah, 9 to, we got 9 to
Might be
11.
breakfast, not brunch.
8:30 to 10:30. 8:30 to 10:30 if a half an hour.
8:30 to 10:30, yeah, is what we could do on the 9th and.
Okay. So we
Sounds
got,
like the 10th doesn't work, so 8th is out, so yeah. So why don't we pencil that in, I guess, 7th we do 2,
7th, thought we do 2, okay.
and then on the 9th, we do the 1. And if, I think that I think we should be down to 3 by then, honestly.
What
Yeah.
time will the lunch be over, Amy, on the 9th? 1 o'clock. Would you want to come back and do the debriefing after that lunch? Because you would have seen 2 on the 7th, 1 on the morning of the 9th. And debrief that afternoon.
Yeah, I think we wouldn't be back here until
I think it's a
2.
good idea
Yeah,
too.
well,
Fresh in our mind, yeah. I like that.
How about like 2? Because, people chit chat and everything at the end. We won't get out of there right at 1.
But
Okay,
just, well,
2
the
o'clock.
priority, right? I mean, if you gotta leave,
gotta
right?
go.
I mean, just tell them, okay, just leave. I mean, the challenge team, you'll find another time to meet for coffee.
Well, except for this is a little
mean-
bit of a special, Sanjay, this is a little bit of a special case because they're honoring William Blair as the adult champion of the year, and they're honoring Sadie Gracone, our student rep, as the youth champion of the year, and we have to stay for their speeches and we have to stay for pictures with them after and stuff because we're their board.
Yeah, I
Also-
don't think we need to do that. I mean, so I think this is a higher priority to me, a much higher priority. So we can take
So-
pictures maybe ahead of time if you want to take pictures with them. We can do that at the beginning of that or during the time. We can find a time to take pictures, but yeah, I think
Maybe we can assign somebody to video the speeches.
that's right. We can
So-
do that. Somebody, we can ask somebody to take a video.
Okay, so what
So the-
time are we gonna do it on that day then?
So that's what
we-
we're
So-
discussing.
So the 10th is definitely out.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
10th is out. Esme is not able to.
Okay, I guess for myself, I personally need some padding between events. I want to
Yep.
be fully present for the interview, so I can't just go from like one event to the other and I just need some downtime. So if that means I need to skip the challenge team, that's okay. But it is more important. This is a lot more important, but yeah.
So
So
Tita,
if
the
it
way,
could
the
be
way,
later-
Mhm. The way it would work
Yeah.
in terms of the order, we would interview the candidate for May 9th, we would interview the candidate in the morning at 8:30 in the morning. And then that would be about 2 hours, so 10:30. And so that would give us about at least a half hour before you go to the challenge team. And if we're late to the challenge team, I don't think that's a problem either.
That's not a problem. Okay,
Yeah.
sorry. That's from 8:30 to, and
10:30.
so you,
10:30, and that would be the final candidate.
okay, and then I guess we could go longer if we need to. I guess the other thing is I don't want to feel like, we're sending that candidate out the door because we have this other meeting to go to. Or other thing.
Well, interviews usually are a prescribed time in most cases, so we'd have to
Yeah, I
decide
think
how
we,
meeting manage.
Well, but we may want
minute.
to discuss things after the interview, which, while it's fresh in our minds, and that's the only
So,
time we can do it.
Well, no,
Right.
that's
Yeah,
why
that-
we were coming back.
Yeah, that's what, so what we're talking about doing is, so after the challenge team, we come back here at the district office, with HYA, and then that's when we debrief on all the 3 candidates.
Okay,
So that it'll be fresh in our mind.
okay, yeah, so I was just saying in that case, I mean, I may just skip the challenge team if other people don't need the padding than I do.
Yeah,
And that's
fine.
okay.
So what time were we gonna have that reconvene? That's why I suggested 2.
2
Yeah.
o'clock, would 2
Yeah.
o'clock be okay?
2 o'clock is fine. So from
2
2
to
to
4 or
4 would
something.
be the debrief.
Is it or a hard stop or we could go.
It can go longer, yeah. It just depends on.
That can go longer, that can go longer.
Definitely. And if you're late, we will be here, so don't worry. If you need to come at 2:30, that's okay too.
I'm pretty sure I'll be here.
Okay.
And that's the 9th. Okay, so we have 7
That's
and
the
9.
9th. So we have our times for May 9th being 8:30 to 10:30 for the first one. We'll have brunch and then 2 to 4 for the debrief.
And
we're
back on the
flexible.
7th, what were the times for
That's on
that?
the 9th. So on
I
the
know, but-
7th, we need to see 2 candidates. So I would suggest you see a 2-hour block and then take a break and then another 2-hour block. You're not gonna wanna have them back to back, but you know,
I think that's fine.
so,
Yeah.
what time would you suggest, Sanjay?
So I think the time's 8:30 to 10:30 for the morning. for
Okay.
brunch.
Uh-huh,
And then, then we can do a lunch, why don't we say noon to 2?
What do we do from 10:30 to 12?
Yeah, that's too long of a break. It can be shorter. We can start at 11:30, do 11:30, have an hour break, then to 11:30 to 1:30.
That's works for me.
Okay. So that's
Okay,
11:30 to 1:30.
okay. So I've
What-
got our times for, all of the activities, and I'll get this out to you, but May 7th, we've got 8:30 to 10:30 would be one candidate. Take an hour break, and then we'd have, you'll be well fed these days. Then we'll take an hour break and you'll have lunch. 11:30 to 1:30 with the second candidate. May 9th will be 8:30 to 10:30. It'll be a brunch. And you'll go off to your lunch, you'll come back and we'll debrief, and we'll have snacks. So,
Yeah, we'll be eating a lot those
Yeah.
3
yeah,
we'll be
Hey,
eating lots every single day at every darn event we go to the rest of the season.
there you
It's a heavy
go.
duty, it's a heavy duty season, yeah.
That'll go over well.
We'll get the good stuff.
Or the applicant pool is gonna go from, go from 15 to 2 maybe.
Okay, so Diane, you want to pick up on the last two activities there?
So, actually, so the last two, basically, the May 20th of June 3rd. So, if I could, this is a request for the board. So on the calendar one that shows that May 20th would be where we would finalize the contract, and we would actually introduce the new superintendent at that board meeting. I may end up traveling that week. So if at all possible, if we could, it's up to the board, if we could have that on June 3rd. Would that be okay?
That's okay, provided, so we need to give this person assurance, whoever it is,
Okay,
that on May 20th, they can tell their district they're not coming back. They're going to a new district, us.
okay.
So,
Sure, yeah,
but we can do that without actually,
publicizing it,
right.
sure.
Well, I don't know how we're gonna do that though, because as soon as they tell their other board they're leaving, everybody will know.
Yeah, I mean, if it's public information, it should come from us first.
Can you try to avoid that, Sanjay, and otherwise Esme will handle the meeting?
Well, the public information will come from us. The private information from the lucky individual will go only to the school board. At that time, it becomes public there.
And we can request the candidate not to, wait until the board meeting, right?
Mhm.
Is that an issue or?
No,
is
no,
that-
we can't. Yeah, I don't think we can
I-
because they need
I
to
don't-
tell their other board.
I don't think I understand. Could you explain that process? Cause my understanding was if a superintendent is resigning or leaving, they need to say it in a public board. I mean, they can say it privately in a closed session, but they need to actually, eventually they need to make it public. So maybe I'm not understanding the process here, but could you explain that?
Mhm. Diane, do you want to go off mute and talk about this?
Sorry, I was talking to Carolyn. Yes, ideally for the candidate, I don't know if you'll be in a place you could be online, Sanjay. Ideally for the candidate, May 20th would help. There needs to be a quorum and needs to be a vote of at least 3, but it really is up to you and your board and how you operate. But it would be more ideal for the candidate. We're leaving a gap of 11 days as it is between the 9th and the 20th. And Julie will talk about some of the things the board did last time from a site visit. You even did a site visit on Nellie, didn't you, Phil?
Bill, did the district do a site visit?
Oh, yes, but I didn't go. I mean,
Mhm.
there were a whole bunch of site visits.
Okay.
We Went up with,
Mhm,
a group of people. There were other people who went on the site visit.
Yeah.
There were a couple of them, but they were crunched in time. I mean, I think all of them were done within 2 days.
mhm. Right, right.
So we have 11 days between the 9th and the 20th to do the contract, background check, and any other things the board would like to do. So June 3rd would be more of a disadvantage for the sending district, you're right. But
Okay.
we
So,
have to make it
So
work
the-
for your board first.
so can I understand what you're talking about when you say it's a disadvantage for the other district? You mean that they can't inform the board until they get a formal offer from us, and we can't give them a formal offer until the 20th? I'm not sure I understand what you're actually saying.
Well, technically, between the 9th and whatever day your board meeting is, one or two of your members will negotiate a contract with this individual. The 3 continuing board members will remember that the candidate brings in a salary proposal to your final meeting, which is now May 7th and 9th. But that is not binding. It's kind of to give your board an idea of what their expectations are. Then the board appoints 1 or 2 members to, with your attorney, negotiate a contract with this person. We've never had a situation where a contract wasn't able to be negotiated. The candidate always has their representative review it. But the 11 days between the 9th and the 20th is usually adequate for the board's offer, the candidate's response, and then a final contract agreement, which goes to the board in closed session, either on May 20th, if that's the appointment day, or June 3rd. Technically, the candidate will not resign their position from the other district until they have had an offer and an acceptance and action in your open meeting. Again, we've never had a situation where it didn't go through to that step, but other districts have, where some information becomes known, the contract is not agreed to, a variety of things, but the candidate is usually advised by their attorneys not to officially resign from their district until your board takes formal action at a regular meeting, and it is announced. One option would be to take action on the 20th, but to do a welcome on June 3rd, where the candidate is there, often their family attends. You have a little break after you announce the candidate formally, and there's a little reception where the candidate meets, and then the board goes back into session and does the rest of their regular business. That is.
I like that idea. That's fine. That'll work if
Okay.
we can do that.
Just to announce on the 20th.
Yeah, that work with that,
Yeah.
okay, everybody?
That works.
So
I think-
announce it on the 20th and the reception on the 3rd.
Yeah.
That sounds great.
Yes.
That's great.
Yeah.
We should tell the candidate to try to coordinate his visit.
Now, you can't see the
First announcement to their board for that same time.
Mhm,
So on the 20th, because it'll be public here,
right,
so it should be
Right.
public there.
right.
Yeah.
And just for board members that don't know, most contracts, superintendents have it in their contract that if they're a finalist, they have to let their board know. So most have a heads up that that's happening. I spoke to a superintendent this week who has it in his contract that he has to tell them if he's applying. So he was kind of sweating the fact that he was gonna have to do it right off the bat, not knowing whether he'd get interviews or where he'd move up. So so most boards are aware that their superintendent has interviewed.
Okay, now I don't want to be the naysayer, but I have one more thing to say about this, and that is we're all making the positive, and I assume well intended, and it will turn out that we'll have 3 candidates that we like and that we can pick between them. We can hopefully come to unanimous decision and so on by the 20th. But if it's like, no way, Jose. Even, well, first of all, we said after the first list, if there was no way, we'd have to change the schedule. And we may even have to not do the 20th or the 6th or anything. We may have to completely revamp if we don't find enough good people. But the same thing happens in the end too. If we get to the final 3, but it's still simply not okay, what we have to come up with plan B.
So we did put out.
I'm not going to be forced to vote for somebody just because of a timeline.
Right. And we did put out a second calendar that was included in the board packet that had later dates, which we would do the same thing. We'd go, on the 23rd when we meet for the slate, if you're not finding the candidates you want, or like Catherine says, if you get to the second round of interviews and you say, these aren't the candidates we want, we go back to the drawing board, we set up new dates, and we continue on the process. That's
Okay.
why we have the position open until filled. It's a good point, Catherine. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming we'll do okay, but you never know. And then from that point of view, you're the ones that are monitoring the activity, if you will, on other districts and other deadlines and so on. How many do you know that have already accepted something that they applied for at the end of March that we wish we'd gotten? You know what I mean?
Carolyn and I had that happen once. I just asked Carolyn, so none of the 3 of us have had the situation where none of the finalists were acceptable. But again, we've heard of that in other districts where maybe some news of a lawsuit or something was found at the last minute. So Catherine's caution is very well received. We are with you until the end. We don't know what Nellie's flexibility is as far as whether June 30th is an absolute final. I have heard in other districts where they had a problem and the board did not select one of the finals that the superintendent agreed to extend. They went back out again and advertised, or they interviewed some of the candidates. So your caution is one that we want to keep in mind because we are doing an expedited schedule here, but we will make that work, and we will be with you until a final selection is made. And that's one good reason that we have 4 of us that potentially are available to help on this. So are we ready to move forward? Julie, you have some more.
I do. So we're on item number 5, and this is just for clarification. Some of you already know this, so I'm just reviewing it. There are 2 types of searches. One is confidential and one has community engagement in it. You might have seen that some school boards choose to have community panels. Some have them come to community meetings where they answer questions from the community. That's something very different than what you did last time. Most boards have confidential searches, and that's what we're thinking it's going to be, as a confidential search. So by saying confidential, it means that the board is going to be seeing these candidates. It is very confidential who the candidates are. So we really have to remind everyone that has any access to this that these names need to be held close to the vest. You can't be discussing it with other people, or, you all know other board members sitting at in other school board meetings. And if it's their superintendent or their assistant superintendent who is interviewing with you, it feels like you want to ask them about it, but really it's a confidential matter and you can't do that. And so we will review when we start interviews. Diane and I will review HR protocols to make sure we're clear on all of that. But between now and then, you've got to be careful. People will come up to you. They know you're in the know. And they're going to want to know whether it's a teacher at the school or a parent or a neighbor. They may ask you questions. And if this is a confidential search, we are guaranteeing to the candidates that come to us that it will be held confidentially. And it can really affect someone in a negative way if the word gets out, an assistant superintendent is looking and their boss or the board doesn't know that. So just as a reminder, we want to make, and to get clarity from you, this is a confidential search. We are not having any engagement of the community in this.
And there is, I'm sure we all understand, there's a huge advantage to a confidential search. And that is all the people who applied and didn't get the job are still private. It's not out there that they applied and were turned down. So that encourages people to apply.
And Carolyn would like me to remind you that she has lost some sitting superintendent candidates that pulled out when a search was not confidential. They're in good standing with their board. They are not comfortable if they do not get it. Sometimes it's when some difficult things are going on in the district and they do not want to be seen with one foot out the door if they are not competitive in your district. So there is some risk in a search that's more public of losing, especially sitting superintendents, and Carolyn confirmed she's had that happen.
Okay.
But
One
now you're gonna,
Sure, Esme.
clarification. This all makes sense, and I'm wondering the flip of it, if we get approached from interested candidates who want to know more about the process.
Mhm.
And
Send
my
them our
contact
way.
is just
Yes.
working with other districts.
Yes, it's
yeah.
not ethical for a candidate to go to a board member,
Mhm.
even if they know you privately. It would not be ethical, and we tell our candidates that they should never be approaching board members. We will talk to Nellie about when it gets down to the finalists, then she can talk to people about it. I'm sure she has interested candidates that are already approaching her. Totally fine, because she's not involved in this process. And who knows the job better than Nellie does? But anybody that comes up to you about that, you should definitely recommend them that they call us and not discuss it with them. Thank you for bringing that up.
And Esme, again, sharing an experience that Carolyn and I had, a candidate had talked to board members and the board members were reluctant to not encourage them. The candidate said to us, why are we even doing this search? All of the board members said they supported us. And when Carolyn and I went into closed session, Carolyn, did the candidate have any votes?
I can't recall, no.
They didn't have any votes in closed session.
Okay,
Diane.
all right. So we'll move on to item
Is Diane
6.
trying to talk or
Oh.
she's muted?
Oh, I was talking to Carolyn, sorry.
Okay.
So that's the other reason, Esme, not
Yeah.
to hold the
No,
discussion.
that makes sense.
Yeah, they may infer something from the discussion that you don't mean.
Mhm.
Okay. Ready to move on. So number 6, we are interviewing every board member. We're not done with that, but we are in the process and collecting those notes that will help us with candidates. We're getting to hear your priorities and what you're interested in, what you think that the community needs and the district needs. We're also in the throes, even though we're cutting back on some of this, we have these focus groups that are listed here. Diane, do you want me to take the focus groups or do you want
Let
to
me
speak to
summarize
them?
it. I think I was doing 4 and 7, and then if
Okay.
you can finish up the last ones. So we have interviewed 4 of the 5 board members. We've interviewed the superintendent. We have interviewed all of the cabinet members except 1. We have interviewed of your 4 principals. We've interviewed 2 and the others are scheduled. We've interviewed 1 of the union leaders and the other one is scheduled. We've done something I think is creative, and thank Amy and Michelle for their help and Nellie for supporting the idea. And I think she checked with your board president, Sanjay. we have sent letters to the community partnership members with the prior leadership characteristics, asking for their input by email. We understand they're a group of people, community members, staff, about 40 that are active and understand your district. And Amy helped us get those emails out to them yesterday, and they'll provide input, which we will share with you. We've also done the same thing with your student advisory, and because we were trying to figure out a way to get student voice included in this. And so your student panel has been invited to provide input by email, and we will summarize those for you. We also, with Sanjay's approval, put a button on your website. On the website, you'll see Nellie's letter of to the community indicating that she plans to retire June 30th. You'll see Sanjay's letter. You'll see the advertisement. You'll see the calendar after it's approved today. And you'll see other items go up there over the course of this. There's also a button if someone would like to provide input. So if you concur, we feel that offers especially your staff, administrators, students, a way of having input. And then the button on the website allows any community member by email to provide input to us, and we will summarize those. Julie, would you add anything?
I would like to
There's
add
also an
one.
FAQ, right? There's an FAQ on the, I saw there was an FAQ.
I didn't see if this bill said.
No, I know I didn't, well, for the time being, but are you gonna?
I
are you
have
gonna-
not, I have not seen that. Do you have one that you already, or do you want us to make one?
Well, when I created the template and I put in everything on there, usually there is a frequency asked question,
Okay.
so I put it there, but I.
Sure.
Oh, so that was,
Sure, we
okay,
can do
that
that.
wasn't directed by them to do it, add an
Okay.
FAQ.
No, they had asked me to help them build, that's why I helped them build what we normally do. And then we kept it off, and then Bill said you guys would discuss it if you wanted it.
Okay, so unless you guys have a ready-made FAQ, I don't know if we're gonna add an FAQ on there then.
I mean, if people have questions, they can send an email.
They can send an email. Okay, I
Right.
thought there was some standard FAQ that you guys were gonna post. That's where I
We
was
don't
coming from.
have one, but
That's fine. That just.
okay.
I
I would like to request that you send that letter or this similar letter that you sent the other two groups to the foundation, because I think they'd be insulted if they didn't get one. They asked me a lot of questions the other night at foundation, but just the same letter. There's 20 people on the foundation that are parents, and just the same question you would ask. Some of them are the same that are on family partnership, but there's a few others that
Okay.
might be polite to ask them.
Okay, that was
Um,
our understanding from Nellie, that it was the same people, but we can definitely send it to them if that's
And
requested.
unless there's some that aren't, but yeah.
And
Yeah.
Sanjay, I think you approved that message that went out with it, because we did say that the board asked us to seek input. Is that correct? That you were able to review that and approve it?
Yeah.
So-
We did. At the last meeting, we said we were gonna seek some
Okay.
input. Could we have a copy of the letter that you sent
I
them?
mean,
Certainly.
okay.
It's
Because-
really, yeah, couple
Yeah,
paragraphs. It's short.
Like
It's
the
not a big
plain old
letter.
I just
Yeah.
want a copy of the letter from my file.
Absolutely. Okay, we'll send that to you.
So
Yeah.
I had a question.
Yeah.
I had a question. So about the community input, what about having the questions that we're asking these community groups on the webpage? So if community members want to answer those questions for themselves, they can send us an email. And also to make it clear that the April 15th meeting is when people can come if they want to and speak for 3 minutes about what they want to see in a superintendent. But obviously, I think email, they can provide much more detailed feedback in an email.
Okay,
That's fine.
that sounds fine. All right, thank you. The letter does have the April 15th date in it, and it does say the board will be discussing it at the board meeting that night. So I think that part's covered, and we'll get all those other little details included.
So
So
do
you're,
it back to you if you want to ask if they want that, something like an FAQ or anything else. So
I think
that's the 8th.
I think Sanjay said no, if we didn't have an FAQ, not to create one.
well, what
People
I
can
would
ask
suggest,
questions.
what I was suggesting is rather than having an FAQ, that you have that the letter that you're sending to people and list that and say, here are the questions we're asking groups. If you would like to answer it for yourself, please send an email to trustees@mbla.net.
I don't think they're asking any questions. They're giving them the results of the last survey and saying if they have anything to say it.
Okay, well, whatever they're sending to MBLA Foundation or whatever you're doing, if you just put that, you just have that letter so that everyone knows that this is what we're asking people. So it's not, so it's all like everyone has the same opportunity if they wish to go there and send us
That letter can
what
be-
they want
we
to
can
look.
post that letter.
Yes.
Yeah, so Theta, yeah, well noted. So so I think, so they've agreed that they will post that letter on the site as well.
Mhm.
The
Yeah,
letter they
and
sent
that's
to-
the same letter I wanted a copy of. Might as well just put it on the website with a copy of the last results that you sent them also, so that they can see.
Oh, that's up there. Yes.
Yeah, that's already there. Okay,
Uh-huh. Okay,
getting close.
we can talk about it. So I know that we have just a few minutes left and we've got a few items to cover, although I think we've kind of covered several of these. Number 8 is about communicating on the website. You can go there. Amy has already set up the button. She sent out the letter to people. We'll get the letter posted to the rest of the community. Our IT contact, is that Bob, Amy? Is that who I should put down for IT? Bob or Miguel? Okay, and then our number of slated candidates, we've already covered that. We've said what documents we want to have, so we know that we're sending you the resume, cover letters, and letters of recommendation. We will be sending the board members a question bank with a letter to you earlier so that you could think about if there are questions specifically that you want to ask. You can, we'll send those to you sooner than the resumes and all the applications, so it doesn't get lost in that. But if you have questions that you're really interested in asking, it's a chance to give those back to us, or if you like to write your own questions, you can also do that. So board members can expect to see that in the next few days. For internal candidates, if we do have an internal candidate, we would recommend treating them the same as other candidates. Diane and I would interview them, screen them, which is what we do with other candidates, and then we put them in the tiers and talk to the board about it, and then you can decide whether you want to interview or not to interview. Candidate expenses, this is one I did not know, or Diane and I did not know what you preferred to do about this. Is the board going to reimburse candidates for travel? So sometimes boards decide that they will reimburse them if they're coming from out of state, or if they have to fly up from LA. They have some criteria, you know, on distance. Other times boards decide that for the round 1 interviews, they would have them on Zoom. If they made it to the finals, they might reimburse them. Others say they can come to the finalists and we don't reimburse them. So we wanted to get clarification from the board what that case will be. We do have some out-of-state candidates who are looking at the position and asking us.
I like the idea of the Zoom interview.
For the first one, and then we would reimburse for travel for the second interview.
Somebody we really want.
Yep, we
Okay.
would reimburse.
Or we would have a travel stipend of some kind depending, you know, it's not just any old amount.
I agree with what Phil and Sanjay said.
Okay.
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 Well,
Good.
I do too, but I don't want somebody to pick the most expensive ticket they possibly can and come first class, is that's what I'm saying. So we need to have some sort of limit or ability to say, yes, we'll pay for you to come here, but you know, this is not, you know, a party.
Well, one idea might be to reimburse them for their airline ticket and they can pay for their hotel, or you can choose the hotel.
Yeah, we
And-
can book that. I mean, if, yeah.
That's what I'm just saying.
And
I think we
think
need-
we're talking about professional people here,
Okay,
so I
yeah.
think we're not, I don't think we have to worry about that.
And Catherine, some districts have your superintendent's admin assistant book the travel for them. if they
No,
don't
that's true.
We can,
That
That-
would work.
control.
That would work.
because it's a confidential search, so they're limited as to who they can write, so yeah,
Okay,
that's fine.
all right.
So-
Advertising.
So just to get into a little bit of detail here, I think if Amy, I know Amy's here, I think, I can't see her, but I think if Amy's responsible for booking candidates, then she's our admin, so that would keep it both confidential, and Amy could also make sure that we're not sending them to the Brits, although we don't have the Brits here.
No Ritz hotels, okay.
No risk.
All right. Number 13 is about background checks. There are agencies that do background checks, thorough background checks. It usually takes 7 to 10 days. HYA works with a company called Baker Eubanks. They do their due diligence based on whether they're going to do electronic, social media and news or not. And so the cost of those services is $19.50, the $1,100 without social media and news. And that's done for the top candidate if the board chooses. And I believe you did that last time. So just wanted to know if you were interested in doing that. That would be after our debriefing on the last day, the last round of interviews, just your top candidate, just to make sure we've picked up on everything in their background.
I think it's money well spent, so
I think that is absolutely necessary.
yeah,
today.
these days, yeah, so with the social.
Yeah.
media.
And with the social media.
Agree. Yeah.
Okay. All right, and then number 14, this is not something we need to discuss today, but thinking about salary and benefits and how you look at what you would want to offer a candidate. I think if you could give us a ballpark at one of our closed session meetings, so we kind of have an idea. Candidates now have access to Transparent California, which they can look and see what neighboring districts are paying, what you're paying, and they kind of, have some understanding what it's going to be.
Couldn't get that information
Yeah,
for us.
exactly. Could you give us?
Sure.
This
For
range,
neighbor districts.
Yes,
Neighboring-
there's a document called the J90 and I can get that for you.
that'd be great.
So that, it won't give you all the details of their contract, but it will give you a basic
Yeah, I think the
idea.
rest of, I think it's mainly the salary that we're,
Well, basically, we have a right to see the contracts themselves.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
we could, no, any public, any.
Oh, they're
any
public.
Public school, we
Mhm.
can sit.
it's
I guess you're right.
It's public, yeah, we can ask for that, but we have to go through the process of getting it, that's what.
Of asking for
So
it,
rather than,
yeah.
I think, but if, yeah, the salary
nice.
part is the most important, I mean, I think
Okay.
the other benefits, I think we have
Well,
Pretty
the other
good.
benefits are standard benefits.
our standard benefits, so I think we have a handle. on-
I think the only issue will be there.
No.
True, that's true, if somebody has those extra requirements, that's true.
I think the other one will be if we do hire somebody that's from far away out of state. And they would incur great living expenses, or some districts have even paid for housing for superintendents and stuff. And I don't know that we're up for that. So we would, maybe we'd have to discuss that with people in their interviews, and that would be part of our consideration.
That was kind of a contract that included a
Housing allowance, it concludes the housing allowance, so you may not remember that, so.
Oh,
yeah,
no,
so
we did, but we only for a short time until she got established.
That's right, so there is, yeah, it's there. So,
I
yeah,
would-
we can,
We can talk about
yeah, we
that.
can talk about that when it
Mhm.
comes to the contract time.
And then
Yeah.
also,
What their needs are.
yeah, also giving your attorney a heads up. I imagine you would have your attorney review the contract that you're negotiating making sure that they have, know that your timeline is going to be between May 9th and May 20th. You're gonna want to have that contract reviewed by them.
Okay.
We also, encourage the, candidates to get from their end to also get it. So it's got to go back and forth a few times, as you know,
Yep.
and that takes time. So
Yep.
just make sure your attorney would be available for that if you choose to use an attorney. And then we already discussed transition services in here. I'm going kind of fast because I know we're a little late here.
No, we don't have a stop time.
Oh, I thought we had a
We
stop
don't
time
have a
at
stop
2:30.
time. Yeah,
Oh,
so,
okay, all right. I know.
so I just,
Esme
I
does.
just wanna,
Oh, I didn't know that.
so
Okay. Okay.
I just wanted to understand you're talking about the contracts. My understanding is, obviously, we want to pay someone fairly, but we also want to get the candidate that we think is the best candidate. So there's a balance between those two things, and obviously that's a negotiation. But you talk about a housing allowance. I think that's valid for someone who's moving in out of state, and whatever else as we've done in the past. I know that Phil and Sanjay have a lot more experience with that. But I think,
Well, I think this
at
is-
least from my perspective,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what
Well,
the
and
candidates
me with hiring Nellie, that's the only superintendent we've hired since Sanjay and I've been here.
So,
well,
yeah.
Nellie
I mean, I
came
think
from
so
San
somebody moving-
Diego.
Yeah, so somebody even just moving to the area, even if they're within state, they might, may need a housing allowance or something. But I think just in regard to the legal part, I think last time, I think Phil took care of the whole contract. We didn't, Phil is our.
Okay,
our board. But,
Phil is our legal
That
team.
contract is being reviewed by Nellie's attorney as well as our attorney last time.
okay.
So it's been
Okay.
reviewed by two attorneys
Yeah.
already. And then we'll have another attorney review it now. But I suggest starting with that as our base.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
I do.
Yeah,
Well-
as I recall, and I remember doing this, the housing part was a lump sum that we just said, okay, here's money towards moving, that's it.
okay. Well, since I now know that Phil is handling it and we have top legal minds working for free, that's great. I'm all on board.
We will involve our legal though.
Yeah.
I'm joking. I know we'll also involve our legal team, but I know that I'm working with Phil, as you know, on another legal aspect. So I know that Phil is keeping our eye on both, getting our fair share and making sure that everything's that his attention to detail is good. So
Julie,
Sorry.
number 15.
So transition services, we want to
Julie,
make sure.
did you do residency? Did I just miss that? Residency expectation?
what is that?
Oh, that they would live here if they're going to work here? Is that what you mean?
Agenda, is there an expectation regarding residency? I think we noted in Nellie's contract, I hope I'm not incorrect, that the expectation was the superintendent be within 25 miles. Julia, am I missing?
Yes.
Yeah,
There wasn't,
Yeah.
within that certain mileage of the district requirement
Okay.
in the contract. That's one of
Yes.
the reasons we put it
Yeah.
in housing
Housing
allowance for a temporary period to enable the person to find a
Yep.
reasonable accommodation.
That makes sense.
Yes.
at that time.
Don't
that's,
wanna-
that's what our lump sum was for. Is to get
Yeah.
them to enough money to, get settled and find a place they wanted to live and stuff, so that they could be resident sooner.
Yeah, and we don't want to zoom at the superintendent.
Good. Well, we will not discuss any compensation, but we will share with all candidates that there is an expectation that the person is within a reasonable commute distance, that there are evening activities and weekend activities that
Yeah,
the
that's a good
superintendent
point.
is expected to
That
attend.
is a
Yeah.
good point to make sure that they're aware of that.
Okay.
Yeah, that is,
Yeah.
that is important.
Yeah.
That is important.
And I've heard from my friends in the computer industry that ChatGPT-5 will be able to do a superintendent's job.
Right.
Can only wish. Uh,
Okay, so moving on to transition services, we want to make sure that it's a smooth transition. We can give recommendations to the new superintendent and to Nellie and to the board about things that you can do that can help to make that transition move along and make people feel more comfortable.
Mhm.
One such item would be, you know, that the candidate, the finalist, after the 20th of May, when they've signed their contract, is to have a time where they can go and visit all the school sites. They can meet with every school staff. They can meet with Nellie and the union presidents. They can meet individually with board members. This would be prior to their July 1 start date, so that on July 1, they've got some background information and they know the people. It might be to invite them to a, you know, and not everybody's going to be able to do that, but if we have an out-of-state candidate or someone coming from far away, we could plan 2 or 3 days. We can help you with that.
Julie, if I
But
can add, we always honor the exiting superintendent's wishes. Some are not always inviting to have the new superintendent at district events or graduations. Others bend over backwards to include the new superintendent. So that's one of the questions we will put to Nellie and the board. It also helps if someone is local or planning to be local, but even if they're not local, they likely will be coming to the area to, as Catherine said, to look at options. We often help with the press release, and get the information and pictures from the candidate and get that to your communications department. And then, so we help in any way for a smooth transition there as a part of our contract with you.
do we have anything in Nellie's contract about transitioning to a new principal? I mean, sorry, new superintendent, if she, when she leaves?
No, we don't have. that
Okay,
contract.
could we might want to consider putting that in the, new contract? Something we might want to discuss later.
We could discuss it when we're discussing the contract. We can. at that
Yes.
time, we can have. that
Okay.
discussion.
so just a review of the dates, we have April 23rd will be our slate. We will be at the board meeting on the 15th, but that'll be an open session item.
Mhm.
The 23rd is closed session. May 2nd and 3rd will be closed sessions from 9:30 to 3:30. On May 7th, it'll be closed session from 8:30 to 10:30 and 11:30 to 1:30. So I'll work with Amy on those dates and making sure we've got closed session posted. And so the 7th goes from 8:30 to 1:30. The 9th goes 8:30 to 4, but you're gonna take a break in the middle, so for another meal. But we'll get that out and we'll update the calendar and get that out to you as well.
Julie, if
And
I,
will
oh, go ahead, Theda.
Sorry, just a logistical question. Will those be in the boardroom or will they be somewhere else?
Cheyenne, do you want to go ahead?
I think we're still going to determine that of what kind of locations we would have, especially for those interviews that are on work days that would preserve confidentiality. So we'll work with Amy and get those proposals back to Sanjay, and those could be discussed on the 15th or prior to that. I do want to
Okay.
mention that as a part of our contract that one or both or several of us will be your hosts for those. We usually are not asked to sit in on the interviews, but usually it's helpful if there's someone without taking your staff time to greet the candidates, make sure they don't cross paths when they exit and arrive. We will talk to you in the future about whether you'd like a writing example. Phil can remember, he helped us with that one last time. So if you have some requests for either, we've done budget simulations that the candidates prepare for you prior to the first or second interview. We've done writing samples. We've done a variety of things. We will host and make sure those happen smoothly for you. We've only been asked to set in on interviews when the board is concerned about legal issues and want an observation, want a person observing. Usually by then, we've talked to the candidates 3 or 4 times. So it's not ideal because we don't want them, we might be the most familiar face in there. So unless requested by the board, we will be outside the room greeting the candidates, making sure they're getting there on time and comfortable, and then introduce them to you and exit.
Yeah,
So what is a writing sample?
Phil, do you want to talk about that? You helped us with that last time.
Are you talking about the writing sample? It's an absolute necessity. So what we did last time is when the candidates came in for the interview, these are the finalists, right? So the finalists, the very first thing that happens is they are told to arrive a half hour early or 45 minutes, whatever. And we have the question prepared. We have a laptop on which they can answer the question. It's a situational case study type thing. And they type out their answer. The computer is not connected to the internet, it's air gap. So we print it, each of us gets a copy, we read it, and we can talk about it at the interview or after, if we don't want to discuss it with the candidate. But we do have that writing sample, and it gives us a clear insight into the candidate's thinking processes, whether the candidate follows things logically, whether the right questions are asked, things like this. So I recommend that it served us well in previous interviews.
So I guess the only thing is logistics. So we have to think about. So last time we actually met for the interview, at least for the May 2nd, 3rd interview, we met at the no, we met at the Chamber of Commerce, Mountain View Chamber of Commerce. It was the Mountain View Chamber of Commerce meeting room. Remember? That was the first interviews with the majority of the biggest number of candidates, right? We met there first, mainly because if it was any internal candidates, right? We don't want to be on campus, right? So we want to be out of district. The final was at the tutorial center because they were
On the
outside campus.
Saturday too, yeah.
And it was on a Saturday, yeah. So if we could do that again, if we could maybe get for the May 2nd, 3rd, I don't know who we're getting
We'll
at this
work
point.
with
So
Amy on
we
that.
need to find probably a place outside of the district
Okay.
for that one. So it was the Mountain View
Yes.
Chamber that we did last time.
Did work
The
well.
other option is Los Altos Mountain View Community Foundation. They have a nice meeting room and a nice they have a nice building as well. That's also another potential place. Los Altos Mountain View Foundation. The other one is
Sanjay, don't we have to post though that that's where it is?
Yes.
yeah.
We do have to post, but not very many people would come over there unless they're really snooping.
And the only
No, I don't
requirement,
think these are private interviews. It's not open to the public.
right.
I understand that, but do we have to say in our
No, I don't.
in
think
our
there's any-
agenda, like we do right now? I mean,
Yeah, the agenda of what we'll be doing, but I don't think there's we have to tell them where where the location is. I don't recall us doing that,
We
but
do,
maybe I'm
Sanjay.
wrong, but I
We
don't
do.
recall us having to do that.
We do, and it does have to be within your district boundaries. But I have not had any where people didn't honor that these were confidential interviews. Carolyn did do Los Angeles Unified, where the press was sneaking around in the bushes, right, Carolyn? Trying to find the location. But we actually have not had anyone not honor the fact
I
that
don't recall us.
these are
doing that. Okay,
confidential.
I don't remember.
Correct.
okay.
Anyways,
Yeah.
We'll
okay.
make sure we do it the
So,
right way.
well, then the only other, but the other logistics one is that about the questionnaire, if we end up being off campus, printing it out, we have to figure out how to do that.
Oh, well, the tutorial center was pretty easy. Of course,
If
if
we-
we set up the course in advance.
So if we can do it on campus, I think we can do it somehow, but if we're like at some other location,
Right, we'll need a printer.
we need a printer, yeah, right? We need to
We'll,
figure out-
we'll work on that. You won't have to worry about that.
Okay,
We'll
that's,
work
that's,
with Amy.
just the logistics that I was
Yes.
just thinking about, but yeah, okay, that's fine, then I'm glad you guys can work on that.
We will, yeah.
Won't worry about that. So, okay, I think that's,
Are there any other questions?
the only other question I have is I want to make sure, Carolyn's able to attend these meetings. Cause we did agree that she would be added,
Mhm.
to the contract. So the fact that she's missed twice, has me a little concerned about it, so. I
Carolyn,
do,
do you know what
make
the
sure-
problem was today?
so, so yeah, so I think we just need to, if you can just confirm that if that's not gonna be the case, then we can always, maybe we need to adjust the contract if we need to. But if that's not, then we just need to make sure. So just, you can let us know,
I will talk to
okay?
you.
Just let me know. Okay? So that's my final. Anything else? Anybody else has any questions?
Rita has her yellow hand up.
Peter, you have a question?
I don't think she knows.
Might have been on previous.
Yeah, I do have a question. So my question was, what is the timeline for, putting the schedule up and, the letter and all that stuff? Given our, like, how much time are we giving people before the April 15th meeting?
Well, we have the letter out to those other groups, and we have the button ready. So I think it's just posting on. I don't know if we can get it posted today, if not Monday. But if we can get
Okay.
it, we'll,
I have a
we'll work on it.
placeholder for the
Okay,
calendar.
okay,
So once you have it updated,
okay.
yeah. if you send
We
to
can get
me,
it done. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
We ready to adjourn?
I think so. Any other questions? I think so.
You know,
think
I do want to say
Go ahead.
one thing. Amy has been fantastic to
we're-
work
thank
with.
you.
She's,
Great.
I mean, she's done an
Yeah.
amazing job. We were going to work with Michelle on getting the emails out and then she was ill unfortunately. And so Amy just stepped right up. Bob was great to work with. He was right on making sure we had what we needed and Nellie made time for us right away. It's really a pleasure to work with such a
Well,
professional
let's not
staff.
forget Joe.
Joe,
And
Miguel,
Miguel.
Yeah.
And then,
Miguel.
yeah, and then Miguel was here today. So we really appreciate working with the staff in Mountain View, Los Altos. Very, very welcoming environment. And I know that the new superintendent is going to love being here. It's really a great organization. So thank you for all of that
all right,
support.
get us some good candidates.
And we will.
right.
we will.
Yes,
We're counting
yeah,
on you,
beat
Julie.
the bushes. Okay, yeah,
Oh,
all right, thank you.
Miguel.
Miguel.
oh, I'm sorry.
We do have a Joe.
Oh,
Yeah, there is a Joe.
There's always a Joe in IT, isn't there? Like, is that a requirement?
Could you
Yeah.
read the transcript from the meeting? And send it to me, thank you.
Okay, so I need a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
Okay, so moved by Esme, seconded by
Goodbye.
Second,
Catherine.
It was Catherine
And,
that moved
so
that.
all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I think motion patches 5-0.
Amazing.
No,
Okay.
Bye.
Thank you.
wondering, was gonna take.
I know, calendar 5.